All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Alchemy Podcast. We have a very special guest today, my niece in the flesh, blood niece, Brielle Whitney Money. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you're all fired up right now
Fired.
because you just wrapped up your first summer sales season at the Grit, and you didn't quit. I'm so proud of you.
Didn't quit.
Thought you were going to quit.
That's messed up.
No, but you made
I'm
it
glad
through.
I proved you wrong.
Yeah, well, I actually knew you weren't going to quit.
Whatever.
You thought about quitting.
You said I was only going to do 70 grand.
Yeah, but you thought about quitting.
Everyone thinks about quitting.
Everyone thinks
That's
about
the point.
quitting. But I want to start before the Grit because I think your success this summer
Mm-hmm.
and finishing strong, and you finished top 10 rookie in the company, started before summer sales was kind of on the table.
Yep.
There was like this phase in your life where you were kind of just being like a dumbass.
Thanks, Doug.
You were vaping, you're drinking, you're being unhealthy. And then there was like a shift.
Oh, yeah.
And you like got locked in on your diet. You started like listening to Huberman. You like got super OCD about your diet and nutrition and your exercise. And you really, the mental commitment came before you went and started to do sales.
For sure.
I'm curious what sparked that shift in lifestyle. Cause it was a pretty drastic shift. Cause even from my perspective, you were like always irritable and you're kind of a brat. And like, I'm just shooting you straight, right? Is your uncle. And you're like kind of bratty and you're just like moody, you know. And then you shifted. And then you shifted.
Doug.
And then you like were upbeat and you were positive and you're optimistic. And then you got all your shit together.
Yeah.
Like what was there like a moment where you're like, I'm making changes?
I feel like when you go through as much like depression as it comes with when you're vaping and drinking and partying, like all of it just comes together and you're forced to either, similar to the summer, you're forced to either change or tap out. And it was actually at a time when my stepdad said, we did like a competition with our family. And it was like, if you do the Peloton for 45 minutes for 30 days, I'll give you $1,000. And money's my motivator.
Yeah.
So I was like all in. And then seeing as much like weight as I had lost, but also like mental, like you're saying, like the switch over those 30 days, it was just like, I don't want to stop. So then it was actually at a time when Lifetime Fitness was looking for a job. Like they were looking for a hire. So then I got a job there and then I just got a free membership. So I started going and it kind of just became part of my routine because it was like, you see what life is like when you don't have it and what life is like when you do. It's like the contrast.
Yeah, so how would you describe life without intentionality, without health and wellness, without fitness? And how was life with those things? Because, doing 45-minute Peloton 30 days in a row, if you've never worked out before,
Totally.
That's a big jump.
Honestly, I think this summer taught me this. If anything, it's like everyone, I would say like 80% of America lives on autopilot. And I think that's living on autopilot. It's like you're just allowing like society to almost like guide you to like what you're supposed to be doing toward a 9 to 5. And you have to just snap out of it and just like regain consciousness, find out who you are, reach alignment. And it's like addicting. It's like once you get like one good like sniff of it, you're like, I want more.
Yeah.
And so then you do shrimp chips. And
Well, you think about like,
one.
you get the brain chemical release of dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin, right? And those,
for sure.
Those are like our feel-good chemicals.
Well, it's like not only a scientific thing, but it's like, it's so cool that such good things can lead towards a higher outcome.
Yeah. And coming from you too, because specifically for those that don't know, you, during COVID, you had a pretty big accident. You're on the longboard. Wear a helmet, everybody. Weren't wearing a helmet. Went into a coma.
10 days.
10 days. Weren't sure if you're going to live. You made it through. Walk us through that story. What happened?
Yeah, that was
2020, right? It was like right when COVID happened, right?
I woke up to the pandemic.
Yeah. So
super weird. That story is kind of weird because I lost all my memory. And so it's always kind of just like relaying information that other people and doctors have told me. But yeah, I was going down the canyon on my longboard. fell off, didn't have a helmet on. I was by myself, cracked my skull open. Luckily,
You landed on the back of your head, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's like blood and whatever. And then my neighbors, because I live up in the canyon, they saw me at like the bottom of the hill. And so they called 911. Got rushed to primary children's. The paramedics said if they would have found me even like a minute later, I would have been dead. So it was like medical mystery and miracle of all miracles. And I think something as drastic as that experience forces you to take a look outside of your own body and be like, okay, I need to still be here. Something like isn't finished here. And it just gives you a new perspective. But yeah, I was in a coma for 10 days, hospital for like a month.
And do you remember, like, do you have any memories of the coma or like where you were when you were in the coma? Like, I'm so curious what that experience is
I
like.
know,
Like,
and I
like,
wanna know,
if you
but
go
I
back to
don't.
like your first memories coming out of it, like, what are they?
In the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, due to like all the drugs that I was on, I really don't believe, I think was it 20, when was COVID? 2021? 2020? I don't think I regained like clarity per se. Like, I don't think I've recovered, and it will be like a forever thing. Like, I always have things that I'll just have to deal with. I mean, brain injuries are brain injuries. But I didn't really come back until I would say maybe like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very ongoing recovery. Just like getting the drugs flushed out, trying to figure out who I am, how I think. And I developed weird like learning disabilities after it, like OCD, ADHD, and then a lot of like cognitive deficiencies.
What were some of those things?
Memory for sure. I think attention is probably the hardest one. And like piecing things together. Like, something I noticed is it kind of takes me a minute to, like, if I have a conversation with somebody, oftentimes I'll still think about it. I'll be like, oh, like I get it now. But it will take me some time to kind of fully grasp what people are saying. My brain has like a slower kind of rate of like processing deeper concepts.
Did you ever find yourself feeling like hopeless that like you're never going to be back to normal?
I did for a long time, 100%. But I also think that there's a beauty in being different. And especially after seeing the people of Alabama, after knocking, it's like you just have this desire to be so different. And I think using those things to your advantage and in ways of like, I know I think weird and I know I'm weird, but like tapping into it, I think is really what will set me apart in my goals.
Yeah. And when you were doing your recovery, like, because I know you were meeting with like neuro doctors and doing all the brain health stuff.
For sure.
What were some of the activities or rehabs you were doing that were really helpful for you?
Yeah, my favorite was cognitive effects. That one was amazing. They take you into this, it's called a functional MRI. So you're getting like your brain scanned as you're doing these like tricks on like a screen.
What do you mean tricks?
Like they'll have you activate certain parts of your brain to see which areas are like deficient or over hyper or whatever. And then they tailor a whole therapy to you. It was really cool. And there's only like 3 in the whole like world. And one of them's in Provo.
Come on.
And so like you should go do it.
Yeah.
It was really cool. But that one helped me a bunch. And then they kind of tailor the therapy to you. And then you do it like intensive for like a week. And it's all day, every day for a week. And it's exhausting. But then they send you home with homework. One of mine is like, mine's so weird. I like can't smell out of this nostril and my eyesight's really weird. And so sometimes it's like I have a paper on a wall and then I have a paper right here. And then I have to go like A and then like track it. But like the tracking, because my brain, when I process a lot of activity, it gets super fatigued.
Yeah.
So when there's like a lot of people, a lot of lights, a lot of things, I get tired a lot quicker.
So you're kind of just swapping between left brain, left, right, and just making the connections.
Yeah, and multitasking is something that I try to like implement a lot of. But it's really cool. Like the therapy, they tailor everything to you.
Yeah. And do you feel like your brain do you have like memories of how your brain used to be before the accident versus now? Like, do you feel like you have like 2 personalities per se or alter egos or?
Oh, for sure. I think my personality did like a complete 180. I was like super, not to say that I'm not outgoing, but like I loved parties and I loved like being around people. And now I have like this weird desire to just like be alone and be in my space and like grind. And I think I've always kind of had like that inner like bulldog of like, I just like want what I want. I'm going to get it.
Yeah, really gritty.
Yeah. But I think I found more efficient ways to get it. And I don't know if that's just with aging or if that's because of the accident. I don't know. And I don't really care to know. I think that's something that it's taken me a long time to understand, but just like being where your feet are instead of trying to analyze everything, because the truth is you'll never know. The truth is you don't know what, like why you got here, if there's something that like is leading you here, where you're supposed to go. But like, if you can just remain present in where you are right now, that is the ultimate cheat code.
Yeah. So it seems like, you did a lot of work. You got your mind right. You started getting your body right.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the major, like actual health shifts that you made, whether it was diet or exercise or supplementation, that you feel like made a big impact on you?
I've been thinking a lot about this concept of like how people say we have 5 senses. And I think that's pretty wrong, because it's just alluding toward we only have like our physical body. And I think when you reach full alignment, it's aligning your mind, your spirit, soul, and your body.
Yeah.
And I think the cheat code to getting those is through meditation, praise, breathwork. I love breathwork. The Othership app. I love that. Good. It's so good. You got me on that.
I did get you on that. I've gotten a lot of people on the Othership app.
But like physical, if I'm thinking just body, the animal-based diet has done wonders to my body.
Yeah, that was, from my perspective, that was the biggest shift, because you weren't eating it. Were you vegetarian?
I was for a minute.
Yeah, you were for a minute, and then you went animal-based.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was when it was a big shift.
Oh my gosh.
I think for me, because I was vegetarian for...
You were vegetarian for a while.
I was vegetarian for a long time. 2017 till 2021, probably 4 years, I was vegetarian.
Yeah.
And it was good for me at the time. It was like a reset.
Totally.
And then I remember I went from being vegetarian to eating a ribeye steak every day. And it was insane how much more mental endurance and stamina I had. My
100%.
brain just worked so much better, and I could have more endurance, and I could think more clearly and more expansive, and I had more energy. And that was a big shift for me too. And I take beef organ complex every day too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that goes short with it. It's like animal protein, it's a complex protein. And our organs are similar in the ways of our muscles, where if you're not exercising them, you're going to have deficiencies in certain areas. Animal protein, because they're complex, it takes your body longer time to metabolize them, but it strengthens your organs as you're eating it. And I think that's the beauty of, doing the diet. And I mean, by diet, I kind of did my own thing, incorporating fiber. And
yeah, we'll talk about that too, because there is one point that's important, is that you hear so much like, eat this animal diet and eat carnivore, eat this. But the reality is, you're talking about having mind, body, soul, right?
Totally.
Tuning into your senses and talking about the intuition.
100%.
I think some of these diets are important because they kind of give you a sense of direction. But then as you incorporate your intuitiveness with building a relationship with your body, you can kind of find what works for you.
100%. Yeah, you nailed that. I think that's exactly what it is. Like, I think the animal-based diet was really helpful in giving me guidance, as you said. But then it was incorporating the things that like I intuitively knew I wanted. And I think the hard thing is really understanding what your body wants versus what your soul needs.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think will forever and always be an ongoing process. But, I find that when you're where your feet are, it's just where you need to be.
Yeah. So you're starting to make these changes. You're getting your physical body locked in.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting to get into more mindful habits of meditation and intentionality and gratitude, right? So talk to us about your entry in the door-to-door space.
Yeah, that was, I think you were probably the biggest impact on it, because I had done a few blitzes with Vivint.
Oh, I forgot. You went out with Vivint for a little bit. Yeah.
And it was so sick, but I was just like not mentally there.
Yeah, not the right time.
No, it was like right after my accident. So I still was like super like not me.
A little disoriented.
Yeah. But I learned a lot from my leaders there. I mean, Bella Estevez, she was somebody that really influenced me. And
one of the best female reps.
Oh my gosh, she was amazing. I reach out to her often. Just like the discipline that she taught me, having a figure that fits that desire.
Like a role model?
Yeah, but it's like for a specific character trait that you're trying to develop.
Yeah.
And Bella was always that for me of discipline. And so it was really admirable to have somebody at that level that was selling as well as she was. And I think it gave me a lot of direction. But it was actually kind of crazy. I was in a really bad relationship and I needed to get out of it. And I remember like at the time I was pretty Christian. I just remember praying. I was like, how do I get out of this? And I had like this weird like download. That's what my mom and I call it. It's like a weird like drop down from like the universe. And it was just like the grit. And I didn't even know what the grit was. I didn't know what they sold. I didn't know anything about it. And I went on my Instagram and I had received a message from Noah Tolley the day before. He had like commented on a post that I had made or something. And I looked on his profile and it looked like he had sold for the grit. Funny enough, he actually just posted something about the grit and I was like, you should recruit me. So I just messaged him directly. That was the easiest laydown. Mm-hmm. And he ended up picking me up at Lifetime and taking me to the grit headquarters. And I just was like, I remember feeling so aligned with it. And it just felt so right.
Yeah. What about the culture was in alignment for you? Because I mean, I love the Grit Boys. I work with a lot of, John Taylor's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
I've had Zach Seeger in this chair, right?
For sure.
Lawyer. I've worked with Lawyer Driggs one-on-one for a long time. Right?
Yeah.
So what is it about the Grit that it was in alignment for you?
I think something that door to door gets a bad rap on is like flexing the Rolexes and the Lambos. And that's great if that's what you're into. But that was never something that I like really aspired to have. And I think while I was out this season, I really learned the influence of leadership and how I've been really called to that in my life. And the Grit gives you every single avenue to go wherever you want, regardless of if it's with them or not. I just got a message in our group chat about some investments and stuff. And I've been having my managers help me out buying my first house at 20, which is so crazy to think about that like this job can give you such amazing opportunities. And the Grit was just something that felt like a no-brainer. And I had actually met with other companies. So funny to like think about now because when I was going through the recruiting process with the Grit, I had no idea what like your commission was. I didn't know anything about that. But I had met with Aptive and their whole pitch was like everything commission. Yeah. It was everything. Like they had offered me free rent. They had offered me my own room. Like they saw a lot of potential in me. And I left that meeting feeling like, oh, like Aptive would be dope. Yeah. And then funny enough, I had a meeting with the Grit right after and it was with my manager, Noah, and he was talking about your why. And that was the whole meeting. And I remember leaving that meeting feeling like it was never about the money. I mean, like I did fine financially. Like I had good money, I was never struggling for it per se. I just was like, I need to remember my why is for something deeper than that.
Yeah, it really reminds me. I think one of the greatest insights in recruiting is that the reminder that there's 4 ways you can pay someone. You can pay them physically, right? You sell accounts, I'll give you physical dollars so you can pay your rent and put food on the table, whatnot. Most companies just focus there. Yeah. But if you can also pay someone mentally, like, hey, I'm going to teach you skills on communication and leadership and investing. You can also pay someone emotionally, where it's like, hey, come be a part of this organization and this culture where you're going to feel accepted and seen, a part of something bigger than yourself. And then you can also pay someone spiritually. Yeah. Meaning we're going to put you in alignment with your why to become the truest, most authentic version of yourself.
Yeah, that's a great stance.
And if you as a leader and a recruiter can focus on paying someone in all 4 aspects, you will never lose at a person.
Yeah, and I think the Grit did that with, I don't think it was like intentionally like, oh, we have to hit all these 4 points. It just was something that felt so aligned. It was like, I just need to be here. Yeah. So it was the easiest yes.
Cool. And then talk to us a little bit about how the first summer went. What do you wish you knew going into your first summer that you didn't know?
I was really struggling hard with my OCD before. And I think
what did that look like?
Yeah, it gets a weird rap. Like OCD is like, oh, I have to clean everything and everything needs to be straight line and whatever. But I think mine was really focused on I needed control of everything. And I saw that I got bulldozed in that regard.
What would be an example of wanting to have control over something?
I remember meeting with Noah and I hadn't ever like practiced my pitch or anything. And he just like, okay, just like pitch me. And I was like, well, like what company are we selling for? What do they get? Like, I need you to write it out. Like, how much is it? Like, what am I trying to upsell on? And I didn't know any of this. And so I remember feeling so overwhelmed and I like had a mini panic attack because I was like, I have no control over anything right now. And I remember reaching out to you a few times about that. And you really helped me with that and just like being where your feet are. like, just control what you can control, but like tap into that unknown. And I watched this video the other day, and it was talking about how we as like a body and a soul and mind, like we oftentimes operate from our subconscious, and our subconscious creates a timeline. And that's basically living on autopilot. That's like allowing society to influence you and whatever. But when you tap into your consciousness and you break that and you do something that's out of the ordinary, that's when you create room for the unknown. And that's what summer sales was for me. That was like, summer sales? Like, really? What is that? Like, I'm going to go door knock for 6 months? Like, this is ridiculous.
Was that intimidating for you?
Oh, it was so scary. I had so many panic attacks. I was bawling. It was like and I think honestly, preseason, like leaving was the hardest part because I had built it up to be this huge thing in my head. And then I went out and I was like, oh, like I have a dope team. Like, weather's dope. I wear a cool outfit. I get money, whatever. But that was the scary part, was like tapping into that unknown. And I think the OCD part of me was like really had to get clicked. And I've always said, like, summer sales, it will break you so hard where you are forced to either tap out or change.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that I never tapped out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the job, I always tell people, like, this job will make you question your existence as a human being.
Oh, 100%. And all factors of life, like you're saying.
Yeah. You can't hide. It'll expose you.
Everything.
It'll expose you.
Yeah.
Now, what were some of the biggest lessons you learned this summer, right? Obviously there's kind of like these benchmarks you have as a rookie, especially first year rep, never sold before, 20-year-old girl, in Alabama, right? Yeah. You throw yourself out there into the fire.
Yeah.
Right. What were some of the biggest lessons you learned this summer?
Man, I learned so many. I've been writing a lot of notes about it, just doing a lot of reflection on the summer. I mean, other than what I've mentioned in ways of like tapping into the unknown and being where your feet are, I think alignment. I mean, when you operate from a place of bliss and gratitude, regardless of your circumstances, I mean, I think we live a pretty conditional lifestyle as people. And so it's like, I'll be happy when, or like, when I get this, then I'll be like enough. And it's this interesting concept that with specifically sales too, like, people crave to be like the top performer to reach X in revenue. And when you break it down to its bare principles, you're really just craving the feeling that you'll feel when you get the thing. And the amazing thing about life is that you can cultivate that feeling right now. And I think there's so much beauty in that. And finding alignment is something that can really help you to achieve that feeling right now. And then everything just flows.
Yeah, that's what I talk about on Alchemy all the time. It's just sales is the transfer of energy.
100%.
That's all it is. And so, I mean, it's very eloquently said, right? You got to be operating from bliss and gratitude. But how do you shift yourself into that state when you have zero rev on the week, it's raining, you're cancels, dogs chasing you, your manager's not giving you the time of day, you're frustrated with yourself, like your roommate is negative, right?
Yeah.
How do you get into that state when everything outside isn't unfolding that way?
I sent this into my group chat a lot, and I think it's really important to have an accountability partner on the doors, somebody that you can just message throughout the days and just be like, dude, I just got the door slammed on my face, like I'm due. But my saying the whole summer was, clarity comes in motion. And the numbers might not make sense right now, but in the end, they totally will. And even just like reflecting on it now, like I really anticipated that I would do better than I did, but I had no context on anything. I'm really proud of how I finished, but looking at it now, I'm like, everything makes sense. I had to suffer so hard and reach the levels of like depression, exhaust, disappointment, everything I felt for a reason, so that I can just be more relatable to when I recruit and when I lead a team, and it all makes sense. And I think that phrase, clarity comes in motion, is something that's really powerful.
Yeah, and I think it's an important note too for the listeners. Then in recruiting, the most effective way to recruit is by selling an identity shift. So I was, unreliable, unconfident, broke, and because of this job, I'm now successful and dependable and disciplined, right? And so that's actually what you're selling, right?
Yeah.
So when you're recruiting someone to your team, you're actually selling like, hey, come be a part of this organization, and your identity will shift because of it. And I think a lot of times as reps, as recruiters, you miss that point.
Totally.
But if you can focus on, hey, you're at point A and I can help you get to point B, which is that identity shift, that's how you build a really, incredible culture. And it seems like that's something you went through this summer yourself.
Totally. Yeah. And even just meeting with their companies, like I mentioned, I mean, they only tapped into that physical part, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't about that. So that wasn't a hard enough sale. I'm glad at where I finished, and I'm excited to go at it again.
Yeah. So I want to go back to the summer there because I know you had some hard moments, as we all do, as everyone does. And you mentioned that Noah asked about your why, right? So when you were in like those days where the last thing on earth you want to do is go knock a door, it's 110 degrees, you're in small town Alabama, right? What was your motivation to keep going?
I really learned the value of self-belief on the doors. And I think that's something I've really struggled with after my accident, is like belief that I'll ever live a valuable life. And I think I've always had this weird personal view that like I never finish things. Like when I think about my childhood, like I did so many sports. And the second that I was like not the best, I would like switch what sport I did. And I've always struggled with that view of myself. And so finishing regardless of my standing on the day or the week or the year or whatever was something that was really important to me. And I think that's what ultimately kept me going on the hard days. But in the moment, it's really hard to have that view because your feelings, you're like so narrow focused on the job that everything in the world is sales. And you're like convinced that when you get back home, everything's going to be different. And it's such a weird feeling when you come back and everything's the same. Like I remember the first time I went back to my coffee shop, shout out Java Joe's, and everyone there was the same worker. And I was like, it's all the same. Like everyone is still living the life that I had left. And, being in the moment when you're in those hard times and you get the door slammed and the weather's not ideal and you're tired, and for girls when it's that time of the month and whatever, like it's really hard to have a broader perspective in an industry that forces you to be so narrow focused.
Yeah. So you completed the summer, you got home, you surprised your mom, right? That was a fun little video. And now it seems like you're on like this mission to make the industry, the pest control space, grid space, more female friendly.
Totally.
Right. So tell us more about that and what your view is and what your vision is of incorporating more female reps into the space.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many thoughts on this. Like I was saying, I think the door-to-door space gets a weird rap, and it's been very male dominated. And I look at our team, I sold with the Alabama squad and we finished first in the whole company and arguably in the whole industry. And, it was really cool to see how the women sold at the level that we did. All three of us finished top 10 rookies. And Brooke Nelson, she's a really good friend of mine, and she finished second out of all rookies. She sold amazing. And I think there are women out there that long for something more than what society offers. And I think the door-to-door space is the perfect avenue for those women. And I think it is something that's such a gritty culture, and it can be super intimidating. And, seeing as many men as there are, and it's hard to not let your emotions override that fear. But when you just tap into the unknown and you're just like, okay, like I'm down to get gritty for 4-6 months.
Yeah. What are some of those things that it offers that society doesn't?
I mean, outside of the financial stance, I could go on a tangent about this, but oftentimes I see that women are demanding so much in their partners, but offering so little and saying like, oh, I just want princess treatment and I just want this and da-da-da-da, but they're not willing to grind with their partner when they're struggling. And when you can relate to them on a deeper level of, like I was out in the summer and like I remember I was bageling for 2 days straight. And I remember texting my manager and being like, if I bagel today, I'm probably going to go home. And the next door I knocked, I ended up closing them, but I paid $700 for him to cancel with his other person. So I definitely lost money on the deal, but it's that aspect of grinding so hard so that you can relate to your partner. And I think my standards of dating have gone up so much after seeing the men on the team and just like relating to how hard the job is. Like, you come back to life and you're like, you're struggling because you're working a 9 to 5 and your coworkers are giving you crap. Like, okay, you're fine, And so it's like finding people that elevate your standards for not only yourself, but just in life. And, you are who you surround yourself with. So if you think about who you're romantic with, I mean, that's something that's so special. And I think for women, it's really cool to elevate your standards, but also just be somebody that your partner is proud to say that they're with.
Yeah. There's almost this magical connection you have with someone if they've done a summer of door to door.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There's just no way to explain it. You can't describe it to someone. No one can truly understand what it's like until you go through that experience.
Yeah.
And on the other side of it, your just capacity to handle rejection and discomfort is so big.
Oh my gosh.
That you just, in some ways, to people who haven't done it, there's just a lot of things you can't relate on.
Totally. Yeah. I would be shocked if I ever dated somebody that hasn't done a summer.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I think everyone should do a summer. I mean, whatever your skill is, like whether you're good or not, just going out there and handling rejection. I think your ability to be able to do something really difficult, handle rejection, is one of the greatest skills you can learn as a human being, because it just allows you to handle life so much more effectively, efficiently, right? And just kind of the things that used to really throw you off just don't anymore.
Yeah, and I was even talking with my managers about it, and they're like, I've been doing this for 5 years, and every single time I come out, it shows me a different area that I'm forced to level up in.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no, I look up to Alex Hormozy a lot, and one of his phrases, volume negates luck. And when you're putting in the volume that you have to in knocking, not only do the outputs just flow, but it forces you to combat whatever would set you back from putting in the volume that you have to.
Yeah.
And that's where the growth lies.
Yeah, just putting in so many reps where it'd be unreasonable, you wouldn't be successful. Yeah. So what's your sales pitch to girls who are thinking about door to door, right? You want to be kind of like this female lady boss entrepreneur crushing the door to door space, right? So
totally.
what would be your sales pitch for someone listening that's thinking about it?
I think this job will propel you in ways that you can't even comprehend right now. And if you're down to just like, wait for your partner to show up, by all means, like I wouldn't do this job. But if you have this internal feeling that you were made to do more, and that's something I always felt, this job, I can promise you, will propel you to do those things. And this job isn't meant for people that want to live comfortable. It's not made for people that are down to just live a good, stable life. It's made for people that are down to get gritty. And I don't regret coming out at all. I think women that commit their time to this job will just accomplish things that they didn't even know they could.
Yeah. So let's talk about the identity shifts that people will go through. Like, so what can someone expect of like the type of person they become by doing business with you?
I think the number one thing is comparison. I think we get really stuck in the comparative dialogue of, oh, they're selling X, I'm selling X. And even just outside of sales, like they look like this, I look like this, they're skinny, I'm fat, whatever. And this job forces you to be so internally aware on all factors of life, spiritually, emotionally, physically, that you have to become so self-assured that no matter what anyone says to you, you're unfazed. And I'm proud to say that like anyone could say anything to me and I just be like, okay, like that's your perception of me. That's your own thing. I think, Alex Hormozy has this quote, confidence without evidence is delusion. And I think I've gone through different phases with that quote of, there's also a certain level of self-belief that's required to cultivate true confidence. But when you have the evidence of not only did I sell X, but I accomplished this, the confidence you have is unwavering. And I truly believe after doing a summer, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And I mean that in like, if you want to say that's cocky, whatever, I don't really care. I'm convinced that I've cultivated the confidence and the grit that I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. And how do you get back on the train though? Because obviously the confidence goes up and down throughout the summer, right?
Yeah.
So like one thing's evident. I speak to so many door-to-door companies, and it's very plausible that a door-to-door rep can wake up in the morning and be like, I'm going to create generational wealth for me and my family. And by 4:00, they're like, oh, is Subway hiring? Like maybe I'll go work at Subway.
So real.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like the waves, like the emotional waves are going to come and go. And my favorite quote in personal development is from John Kabat-Zinn, who's a meditation teacher. And he says, you cannot stop the waves from coming, but you can learn how to surf.
Ooh, I love that.
And so the reality is like, yeah, we're on a podcast right now. We've got the cameras up. Summer's over.
Yeah.
You're feeling good.
Oh, for
You've got a big meeting later, right? You got your back ends and your checks. Like everything's good.
Yeah.
Right. So, but in the summer, it's different when it's Wednesday on June 20th. It's 2 p.m. You're in the middle of Alabama. The flies are coming at you. People are telling you, they're calling the police on you, right?
For sure.
How do you maintain high levels of confidence when you're in that moment?
Yeah. I mean, I think I have a few things that really helped me out. One, like I said, an accountability partner.
Yeah.
It really is all about the story you tell yourself. 100%. And
give us an example.
Before I left for the summer, I turned 20 on February 7th. And I'll never forget. I just like woke up on the 5th of February and was like, I really want to do something hard. And so for my 20th birthday, I ran 20 miles. And after my accident, I have pretty severe scoliosis and like hip displacement and whatever. And I remember wanting to train for an Ironman a while ago. And I had met with a bunch of doctors and they said, Brielle, like, don't run. Like, that will mess you up. And so I was always advised against it, but I ran 20 miles. And it was the hardest thing I've ever physically endured. Because not only was I like cramping in places I didn't even know I had, but like the story of the doctors was always overplaying in my head. It was like, Brielle, you can't do it. Like physically, it would be impossible for you to do this. And like I said, confidence without evidence is delusion. And when you have the evidence of something so drastic, and it might seem small to other people, but for me, it was such a monumental movement and event. I mean, it was my birthday. Like I could have gone out and partied and whatever. I'm in my 20s. I'm a girl. And I chose to run 20 miles in the rain by myself.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you were going.
Like nobody was there.
Yeah.
I had people meet up with me on the way and run with me for a minute. And my dad was super supportive and would drop me off and whatever. But my mom was out of town. My stepmom was out of town. Like I didn't have any support. And I think that really helped me in those moments of like despair on the doors, because it was not only something that was so hard, but I didn't necessarily have the support.
Yeah.
And so, it's easy to say that like, when you reach those levels, like, oh, you just have to remember where you're standing right now. But oftentimes you're not on track. You're hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue off of your goal. And you're like, there is no way that I can still get where I want to go. And I think something like that for me was so helpful. And, I don't know if you've read Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, such a great book, but he talks about a calloused mind and almost just like writing down all of the hard things that you've done and recalling back to them in times of need. And I'm just like, summer sales is hard and it's one of the hardest things I've ever done, but I've done a lot of hard stuff in my life.
Yeah.
And so when you recall back to those moments, it makes the now feel stupid, because it's like, okay, I'm mad because it's raining and people are saying no to me, and like, okay, you're fine. I'm on a segue.
Yeah, I mean, you're showing that you've built the evidence.
Exactly.
Of the type of person you are.
And I think recalling back to those moments is really helpful.
Yeah. So how do you respond, when that voice, Phil Stutz, he's one of probably my favorite psychologists. He calls it part X. And it's the voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, you're not capable, you don't deserve to be here, right? And it's important to note that voice will never go away in your life. You'll always have it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you do when that voice shows up? What's your relationship with that voice?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said that voice never won, because of course it did. I mean, there were times when I would just like sit on a curb and just bawl, or even just like stare and be like, look at like, okay, well, like maybe if I like only do like 2 sales a day and then like go home in like a month, like that's fine, you know? But I think with the knowledge that I have now and the experience, I mean, even in the gym, I've noticed that like I was hitting legs the other day and I was on the rower, and I always finish my leg day with rower and lunges, and the rower was so hard because I went really hard on the leg press and whatever, but I've programmed my brain to saying I'm gritty. And like I said, that self-dialogue is so crucial, but it's also so cool that we can control it. And when you can program your mind to, I mean, perspective is everything. So when you can program your mind to work for you, Abraham Hicks, she's one of my favorite YouTubers, and she's like a medium. Do you know who she is? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
One of her main things is like, is this thought productive? And almost just like having that in the back of your mind whenever you're thinking things at depths of like, should I be here, or something so deep, it forces you to think if that's really you or if that's that X voice like you're saying. And it helps you regain control of like, okay, this isn't me.
Yeah, one thing I learned too is that the voice will always be there, but you cannot listen to it.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to the voice, and you can override the voice. And it reminds me, especially if we're talking about endurance, you know, I love Jesse Itzler, great
so
speaker.
good.
And he has that story of when he ran that 100-mile race.
Yeah.
Right. And then their mantra was, I never get tired.
No.
I never get tired.
No.
Right. You're running and it's like, I never get tired.
Good.
I never get tired. When I'm on the treadmill, sometimes I'll repeat that because the voice will kick in. I'm tired. I'm not going to finish. This is too hard. I don't have the endurance. I'm not in shape. Right. I should just shut off the treadmill. That voice will always be there, but I can override that voice with, I never get tired.
I never get tired.
And I'll just repeat it. I never get tired. I never get tired. I never get tired. And you got to beat that voice into submission.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's ways to almost like manipulate yourself.
Yeah.
Into believing X.
Don't believe everything you think.
No.
Powerful thought.
Don't.
Well, Brie, what can we look forward to for the next, what does 2026 look like for Brielle Money?
A lot of growth. Planning on, managing the women this year, and have a few meetings to talk about it. But I think next year is going to get gritty, and I plan on being a little bit more vocal on my socials about it, and talking about all the things that I'm learning and habits that I've cultivated, and sharing it openly so that other people can grow. And yeah, stay tuned.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching.
Thanks, Dougie. Thanks for having me.
How can someone find you on social?
Instagram is Brielle Money, all lowercase, no spaces. And my TikTok is Brielle W Money, I think.
Fired up. Thanks for coming on the show, Brie. Love you.
Love you. Thanks for having me.